Hello everyone, and welcome back to our three-part mini-series on where you should be financially based on the decade that you're in. And for today's video, we're going to touch upon your 60s and your 70s. So once you're in your 60s, you should have saved up for retirement right around 8 times your salary. That'll put you in a pretty good spot for you to allow you to maintain the lifestyle you've grown accustomed to and maintaining that throughout your retirement. Now, in our last video, we touched upon in your 50s, you should have a financial plan in place that provides projections on what your lifestyle will look like in retirement. Now that we're in our 60s, maybe we want to run some alternatives. So, before maybe we just had a base plan that's maybe when Medicare turns on at 65, but now if we're 60, 61, we can kind of play with the numbers a little bit. Let's run a cash flow projection on what our budget would be if we're retired at 63 or 65 or 67. There's no right or wrong answer here, but you're going to be able to mix and match the retirement date with the lifestyle you want to live. Now, there's typically 4 or 5 things that we can play with once you're really close to retirement to kind of get you where you want to be. 1 is when you retire full-time. 2, whether you do any part-time. 3, what's the additional savings we can do until we retire. 4, what's the budget we're working with in retirement. And then 5, how much risk are we taking in our portfolio and what type of rate of return does that correlate to? So the combination of those things, we can find your own personal sweet spot. Now, the other thing I recommend we do once we're in our 60s, not only playing out scenarios that hopefully turn out well, but we can also throw some, we'll call monkey wrenches at the financial plan. What happens if inflation is running hotter than expected? What happens if I have a long-term care event? So once we have a plan, we kind of want to make that plan foolproof. So being top heavy in terms of financial planning in your 60s, in my opinion, is crucial. Now, a big part of the decisions you're going to make in your 60s is what I'm doing when it comes to healthcare and retirement. What type of Medicare supplemental plans am I going to have? There's no right or wrong answer here, but I'd highly recommend speaking to a professional to see what makes sense for you based on maybe some medical situations or medications that you take. The other thing that I think people spend far too little bit of time is Social Security planning. Now, I personally teach Social Security seminars. In about 45 minutes, you can have all the information you need to making a proper decision when it comes to Social Security. Again, there's no right or wrong, but you want to do what financially kind of makes the most sense for you, kind of gives you the best potential for the highest payout over your lifetime. That kind of wraps up the main things I believe you should be focused on in your 60s. Now, once we get into our 70s, it's a little bit of a different story. Now, something I like to introduce to my clients in their mid-70s, depending on their health, is sitting down with an elder care attorney. So let's go back in time a little bit. Let's say in our 50s, we decided to not move forward with any type of long-term care insurance or kind of hybrid life insurance policy with a long-term care rider. So we're going into this knowing we're going to self-insure. Well, you can certainly be smart about it. So there's different trusts you can put in place in your 70s that kind of helps protect assets that you would hope to go to the next generation instead of to maybe an assisted living facility or a nursing home. So this is probably the last time I'm telling you to review your estate planning documents, and it probably makes sense to do so with someone who has a very good understanding of the elder care planning world. Now, we're in our 70s. We've done a great job. We built a financial plan. We have a nice nest egg that we're hopefully lasting us our entire life. The most important thing you need to do is stick to your budget. Now, that financial plan we utilize is assuming a budget. So let's say our budget's 100 grand. Well, there's a really big difference if we're off by 10, 15 grand. That 10, 15 grand played out over your 70s, 80s, and 90s, you're absolutely going to run out of money. So understanding what your budget is and leaving plenty of miscellaneous things for the different what ifs that happen in life, such as you're driving down the street, you run over a nail, and oh crap, now we need 4 new tires. So sticking to your budget is by far one of the most important things you can do to make sure your nest egg is able to last you your whole life. Now, something that also comes up if hopefully we're in a positive kind of cash flow situation and we have enough to make sure that our retirement is going to be secure, Now we can kind of start helping your kids or your grandkids. Another thing that's great is, setting up 529s for your grandkids. You know, it's very hard in today's world where stocks are at all-time highs, housing markets are all-time highs. People that are trying to start their financial world in their 20s and 30s, this is a really tough time period to do it. So any little things that can help, such as putting a few bucks for little Billy that's going to be going to college in 15 years, certainly something you can look into. Piggybacking off what I just said with regards to sticking to a budget, making sure you understand the tax code. And what I mean by that is, let's say your budget is 140 grand. Now a good chunk of that is going to be in the 12% bracket, and maybe some of that is in the 22% bracket. And knowing where you're jumping from 12 to 22, which is almost a double, is very important. This way, hopefully, you've gotten to retirement with some after-tax money, such as Roth, or money in a joint account or a brokerage account, and pre-tax money such as a 401k or IRA. Knowing how much you're going to take from each to stay within certain tax bracket is extremely beneficial to making sure your pool of money lasts you your whole life. Another thing that is, in my opinion, very important, that when we're in the distribution phase of life, we probably want to break up all the different types of sectors or investments that we're in. So in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, I'm a big believer in kind of target date funds. So something that's a one-stop shop for diversification, let's say in a 401k, because it's not important to break it up because we're not touching it for 20, 30, 40 years. Once we're in retirement and we're starting the distribution phase, let's say we're taking out $1,000 a month, well, US stocks might be doing differently than international or emerging market stocks, and the stock market might be doing different than the bond market. So the whole point of diversification is different things do well at different times. So if we're in a period of time where stocks have really gotten hurt and we want to let those rebound, we can take from more of the bond positions. Now, of course, vice versa, and stocks are at all-time highs, we could just touch the stocks portion. If you're in a one-stop shop target date fund, you're taking a little bit of everything. So in your 60s and 70s, or really when your retirement starts, you want to be conscientious of what tax bracket you're in, and you want to be conscientious of what type of investment am I currently funding my retirement with. So I hope everyone enjoyed our three-part series on the financial world throughout the decades. Of course, I am always here if anyone has any questions. Love to chat.